Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Register with your Thursday Inspired Thought, and I am here with Dr. Stephany Rose, phenomenal young lady over here at the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs. And she did a great job with the Educating Children of Culture conference here at UCCS a few weeks ago, talking about hip hop culture. And her class topic was hip hop pedagogy. I guess that was that what you said?
Hip Hop Pedagogy, yes.
Pedagogy. That's educating me again. So, what was that about, and why did you even have this class?
So, the Educating Children of Color conference is a long-standing conference that's been happening here in Colorado Springs, and it deals with issues around inclusion and diversity in the classroom and things to best practices in trying to deal with the diverse populations that we have. So, many of our students come from particular backgrounds and spaces where hip hop is a part of their life. It is a cultural practice in their lives. And if we are being culturally competent in using all of those tools in the classroom, hip hop is another way to create a best practice for students and for teachers and educators and trying to make connections with them. So how do we use hip hop to teach social justice? Or how do we use hip hop to connect and the theories around hip hop and the practical aspects of hip hop to connect with our students to best get them engaged with the curriculum?
Let's go back a little bit, and because a lot of the audience may not know what hip hop actually is.
Okay.
So because most people may think that it's just rap music, right?
Right.
But it's much larger than that. So
hip hop is a culture. So it is, in its inception, there were 4 elements that people tend to historically attribute to hip hop, rap being one of them, breakdancing being another, graffiti being the other, and DJing, MCing being the 4th element. But there's always been this 5th element of knowledge and self-empowerment that is really present in what hip hop is. And so hip hop is a way of life, and a lot of times we tend to focus on an aspect of hip hop as opposed to hip hop in its totality. And I make the analogy, it would be like just seeing a person for their arm instead of the fullness of their being.
Folks may not understand what you were talking about earlier about the social consciousness behind it. So who are some of the social conscious artists that we find with inside of it, and what is it that they're trying to teach society?
Well, I think that question becomes a very difficult one. A friend of mine who I respect dearly went to undergrad at the same time in the same locale would say that if you are alive and breathing and thinking, that you are conscious of something, right? So the reality is that all of the artists are conscious about something. There are some artists, however, that are more conscious about what is happening around race issues or things that deal with economic injustice or sexism or things of that nature. And so there are some people that we can point to, such as a Lupe Fiasco, who is very much engaged in political government, in the construct of what we experience in the United States, and talks a lot about identity politics in his music. There are other artists like Grae and underground artists that we don't necessarily always hear on the top 40 stations. In terms of our society, that it is what propelled President Obama into his presidency. Like the kind of mannerism and grassroots engagement is what connected with a hip hop generation that transformed what our White House looks like.
That's one of the artists that was on program that day was Beyonce.
Yes.
And she totally changed the game. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, Beyonce, one of the things that's amazing about her is being able to watch her evolve and to grow into adultness, because she enters into the conversation at 9 years old. And so we see her grow up within a hip hop culture, but also grow up into her womanness and the ways in which she has been able to put conversations about Black female sexuality, Black female identity, motherhood, feminism, whether you agree with her or not, the ways in which she's been able to put that into conversation for a mass audience has been phenomenal. So if you agree with her representation or not, the beauty is that many people in a mass space are engaging these conversations around their kitchen tables in the beauty shop with their daughters that were not necessarily being had before. And having to see that transition and to see her growth is amazing. So I think it's really interesting the ways in which we see the president and the first lady engaging what some would call hip hop royalty in a Jay-Z and Beyonce. I don't know if I would personally use the terminology of aristocracy, so to speak, but just the ways in which they engage what a lot of us see as iconic for hip hop, I think is phenomenal.
Once again, this is John Register here with Dr. Stephany Rose, and she has been an inspiration. Now, of course, you go forth and inspire your world.